Coming up, we are going to discuss our Disney-related bucket list items live from the Bob Varley studio here in Orlando, Florida. This is the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 752 for the week of November 4th, 2014. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, and Adventures by Disney Vacations. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Well, hello again, and welcome to the Diz Unplugged, coming to you live here in the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida. I am your host for this segment, Dustin West, joined at the table by my good friends John Magi, Kevin Close, Teresa Eccles, Julie Martin, and back in the production nook we have our associate producer, Craig Williams. Hello, Craig.
Hi.
Hi. Well, again, thanks for joining us, and thank you, Teresa, for messing me up in my intro, making me laugh.
I always try.
Pick up the phones now. Make a contribution.
Make a contribution.
Like I said, we're going to be talking about our Disney bucket list items. Now, this idea was spawned from spawned from Kathy Whirling's blog, where she went to the Hoop-de-Doo review recently.
For the first time.
For the first time. And that kind of made her think of putting together this blog where she asked some of her Facebook friends what they haven't done at Walt Disney World or Disney theme park and Disney-related items that they haven't done before, and what would be their, she's got it as a top 5 for their bucket list to do. And I thought we could share her results from her blog and also go around the table and see what we haven't done and what we would like to do.
I think we should invite the Chatterati to give us their bucket list.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to see some comments from the
Provide
chat.
your bucket list stuff.
For those of you watching on live stream.
See what gets spawned.
Yeah. So her first, see what gets spawned.
What the crap? Okay, go ahead.
She asked her Facebook friends, and again, thank you, Kathy, for putting together this great blog. If you haven't seen it, we'll have it in the show notes page at dizunplugged.com. She had, for number 5, she had a 3-way tie for number 5, which was to sleep in Cinderella Castle. More general, take a Disney cruise, and visit all the different Disney theme parks around the world.
That's bucket list.
That's
to me.
actually mine. I was going to say that's mine.
Yeah.
Visit all the Disney theme parks.
We have a
around the
friend who
world.
has. She's
Done
only
every single one of
35
them?
years old. Yes, she's been to
Happy
every
for
park.
her. Independently wealthy.
I think except for maybe what's the one in
Well, that's
China?
not every park then.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
not, well, no.
I
she's
still have a chance to
been
beat
to
her.
every park, so maybe
Yeah.
she has been
I can still be
there.
better
I'll have
than
to
her.
ask her.
I've been to Disneyland Paris, and just from going to Disneyland Paris, like we have, you can feel the difference in the international parks. I can't imagine what the Asian parks would be like. That's got to be. It also feels to me like it would be a safe way to travel to those countries, to like kind of that.
Still be in a Disney bubble, yet go someplace so exotic and different from where you live now.
Yeah.
For sure. That top 5, that last 5 tie is kind of diverse, isn't it?
It is very
If someone
different.
else goes, I go on a Disney cruise, I can get you on a Disney cruise. I can fill that bucket list.
I think, for me, always having been a Disney World fan and never having gone on a cruise until I started working for the Diz, I mean, I kind of had mixed feelings about going on a cruise. It was, I wanted to do anything I could that was Disney related, and that falls under that for sure. But the thought of traveling on a cruise ship, it never sparked with me that could be a legitimate vacation, because I'm so used to coming to Disney World year after year. Like, that never came to my mind. Yeah.
It's my favorite vacation.
Well, I think if you have that, I can only do one thing, it makes it much more difficult to make that decision.
Choose,
if you can only come to Walt Disney World or only go on a cruise, that's a tough Sophie's
what
choice.
was one of the 3-way tie was go on a Disney cruise. Okay, so I've been on a Disney cruise. Make it a little bit more in depth for me. I'd like to do the Panama Canal or the transatlantic.
Really?
Because there's more. I love sea days, and so that's on my list, is to
Oh man,
That's cool.
Panama Canal, I think would be awesome.
That would be. I would especially like to see the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could do the transatlantic. I know you guys have done transatlantic
We
cruises
have on a
before.
different cruise line, but we have. And if you
We've done
love sea,
Trans-Pacific too.
we have. If you love sea days, it's definitely the way to go. You have to
sea out
love
there.
sea
There are
days.
several of them in a row.
In a row.
I get cabin fever too easily. I couldn't do that.
Well, you
Well, you don't have to stay in your cabin.
Well,
There are other things to do. Alani seems
Shackled below deck. What the
really. You don't have to row. Alani seems to be a big one for people.
yeah, that wasn't on this
That's
list,
according
but
to the chat,
yeah.
folks.
Because it is definitely worth it.
Well,
Yeah.
for Corey and ours is, I guess, it's more for our kids. Their bucket list is to take them to Disneyland, do a few days there so they get adjusted to the time change, and then go to Alani.
But your
with them.
bucket list is to do that with your kids.
Right.
And
Well,
enjoy
but
them.
we've done it. They haven't.
Yeah,
So
but to do
it
it
would
with
be
them.
fun to do it with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been very lucky. We've done a lot of the Disney stuff, a lot of the stuff that's on other people's bucket list. We've been allowed to do
Right.
because of what we do. So I think that I'm very grateful for the things I've gotten to do and the people I've gotten to meet and the things I've gotten to see. I would say one of my bucket list items is to go on the ABD trip to China.
Yeah.
However, there are some things that hold me back from that. There are internal flights. One of the things I really want to do is I want to go see the pandas. But you get on a small plane and fly to the place where the panda,
A big bopper plane.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Patsy Cline, Big Bopper, Richie Valens, the whole group. You fly there, you go see the pandas, and then you fly back. So I think to myself, I would love to see China, but I can almost guarantee you that I wouldn't get on that small plane.
Yeah.
So, but again, I feel very lucky that to say that I've gotten to do a lot of
I
this
would
stuff.
say that I think, according to what you're saying, Kevin, along the same lines as most of us, our bucket list is going to be a little bit different because we have done some of these things. One of the things I don't think any of us have done is sleep in Cinderella Castle. What do you guys think about? Does that excite you, the thought of that?
Not at all.
Really?
Not in the
It's
least.
not. No, it's not. It doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
It just
I
doesn't.
got to tour it, and seeing it was
Yeah.
enough for
Seeing
me.
it
I
is
loved
good.
seeing it.
I don't
need to
have
sleep
any.
there.
No, I don't need to sleep there.
I agree with you. I would
can't
love
leave.
to see it.
You're stuck in that room.
Right. You can't leave the castle.
Yeah. I don't like the thought of
do
the
you mean?
logistics of it. What are you
Once the
going to
park
go?
closes, you
Yeah.
can't go anywhere.
You have
Is there
someone there
room
who,
service?
Well,
Yeah,
they have
there's
a
a
little guy.
butler.
Yeah,
There's a
comes to
little
your
guy.
door.
Otherwise, you'd go down and say hi to the guy spraying down
You're basically
the
like
sidewalk.
you're in the tower, like Mary Kay was
Rapunzel.
You're locked in.
Jacques and Gus
waiting
come
to
to
be.
you.
Well, if they would lock me in with someone I like, it could be okay. But just to be generally, no.
Not
okay.
Calvin.
I think for kids, though, that would be so cool if your family, if they were still doing it.
Well, that's a good
Lock
thing,
your
like,
like
kids in there, and then you go someplace else.
that's my question too. Is it even possible for anyone to stay there?
Not right now.
Not
you
unless
have to
you're a
be
celebrity.
Yeah,
Neil
VIP.
Patrick Harris type of thing.
Katy
Yeah.
Perry is the most recent person that I could think of
Did
that
she
stayed
really?
there. Mhm.
She dressed like a cheetah.
Could you hear a roar?
So, John, I wanted
Like a
to
Cheeto.
Did you see her Halloween costume?
She was a Cheeto.
She was a cheetah.
a Cheeto or
Yeah,
Cheetah?
Cheeto.
Cheeto. Like a
Like a chip.
Like
Not
the
just
edible
a Cheeto,
Cheeto.
a crispy Cheeto.
Oh, so she was lumpy.
All right.
Moving on, John, I wanted to ask you: was there anything else on your list that you had kind of in mind?
I do. Visiting every park. That's a big one.
Me too.
I also want to get our groups to the point where we can, one, rent out an entire theme park.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I think that's really cool. And two, take over an entire Disney Cruise Line ship. Because one of,
That would be awesome.
isn't that awesome? Because if you can do an entire Disney Cruise Line ship, you can control everything.
What's holding you back? On the cruise line
You are not
thing.
working hard enough. That's sell more.
Okay, let me just add. There's some great ones here.
Yeah.
Spend the night in the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Mark said that. Mark Fairley. Matt says he'd like to spend the night in the Swiss Family Robinson tree. Swiss Family.
But see, those aren't
Robinson
even
treehouse.
like you're not
Right.
even able to do those things. Like that's like a dream. It's
yeah,
not
but they're
really a
cool.
bucket list, in my
Oh,
opinion.
we only lit.
Okay, guys. Julie thinks you're not using the word.
We're only
I'm
limiting
just
to
saying, like
things
that's
you
never
can-
gonna happen.
We are limiting-
It's never gonna happen.
What a downer, Julie.
This past year, they actually picked a family to spend the entire night at the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. And
That was
they,
2 years ago.
They've
No.
done that in past
Would you
years.
again?
They've done it, and they live streamed the entire 24 hours that they
Where
were
do
in
they
there
sleep?
or whatever. They were in
The maintenance room.
I want to say they weren't. They were in the first room whenever you come.
Stretching room.
Not the stretching room.
The
just
ballroom?
the first room whenever you come in.
Where there's a
before
fireplace
you go
and
to
the
the
portrait
stretching
changes.
Portrait
And they
You're in the
set
break
up. They set up
You sleep in the
furniture all
tomb.
around and kind of like that. But it is possible if you
Yeah.
win a contest for it.
Oh,
They've
okay.
also had, you could have dinner there. There used to be an event where it was very expensive, the ticket. They used to have the 999 Happy Haunts Ball. So you could have dinner at the Haunted Mansion, excuse me.
Who wants to sleep in the treehouse?
You want his name?
See, there's an actual
Yeah,
bed there.
call
You
him
can
out.
actually
Who's-
sleep
who's-
there.
His name is Matt.
Because I love tree houses.
And he'll stay up
But
with all
it's not
that
a real
organ
bed,
music.
is it?
Yes, it's a real. You've never walked up there?
Yes, but have you touched the bed? Is it like soft?
The sheets are
comfortable?
screwed down to the wood, the plywood that's under it, I'm sure.
Well, maybe it's not a real bed.
No, it'll be fun.
Those are cool. I like the ones that are a little more imaginative. I mean, obviously, some of these things probably won't ever happen, but that's
Yeah,
a cool.
my list. I'm gonna just throw it out.
It's
They're all,
cool to
like,
be
doing
imaginative
funky
about that
things.
stuff. One of the things that I was thinking about along the same lines as sleeping in the Haunted Mansion, I just like to be able to get more access to backstage stuff. I've done a lot of that, especially as a cast member. I've seen a lot of backstage stuff, but like to go backstage in the Haunted Mansion, to go backstage in Pirates of the Caribbean, stuff like that. That excites me. Those, that sparks my interest. Being able to go backstage in some of the attractions.
I don't know what kind of backstage there is at the Haunted Mansion. I would like to do a ride through with the lights on.
Sure, yeah,
That'd be
stuff like
cool.
that.
Oh no,
No, you wouldn't want to do that?
no! I want to keep it dark and mysterious.
Interesting. Number 4 on Kathy's blog. Go to Disneyland. And in the same lines as take a cruise, I think this is definitely geared more toward those folks that go to Disney World
Oh,
regularly.
wait a minute, I have a question. This is
Yeah.
not Kathy herself. This is from
No.
her
A
Facebook
poll.
page.
Yeah, she kind
Oh.
of took a consensus from.
Yeah,
I say because
Disneyland.
she's been a couple times.
We should check on her.
But
the
Julie,
president?
Julie had said this. I want to do Disneyland with my family. I've never done it with my family.
I mean, Ferris technically went in utero, but he wouldn't remember.
Have fun, yeah. No, I would love to do it with my kids, and we just, I think that would be cool.
There's a great deal of interest in meeting people like John Lasseter and things like
Yeah.
that.
I thought you said
according-
John.
No,
Well, I
according
read
to
it.
the folks in chat. And I think, meeting people that are responsible for the things that you love so much.
Yeah, and I think it's been kind of cool for us being able to go every now and then to go to like press events and stuff like that. We've kind of dipped our toes in those water. Like I met John Lasseter and took a picture of Corey with John Lasseter, and I don't have a picture of myself with him. That made me sad. But he was a cool guy,
sad.
and that kind of stuff is neat. That is, but you can't. It's hard to plan that.
Well, it's one of the things we try to do with our trips is we think of what we'd really like to do and who we'd like to meet, and we try to put people together with that. We haven't had John Lasseter yet, but we've had Marty Sklar and some other
Bob
guys.
Gurr
Bob Gurr. So we try to do that kind of, what are things we really want to do? We think other people would really want to do that too, and see if we can put those together.
Well, Taylor getting to meet Jodie Benson coming up very soon
She really excited
is
about it?
The Little Mermaid is like her life. It's been her favorite movie forever. She's like, she's like, Julie, what if I cry? What if I'm like
It's
so
okay, baby.
overcome?
It's
I'm like,
okay
you're
to
not going to be the
cry.
only one, you know?
You would not believe the emails I get about Jodie Benson and the things that people can and can't do and what should they do. And
Yeah.
What they can and can't do.
Well, they
with it?
can
What are
cry,
asking?
right? That'll be
they
okay.
can cry.
Crying's good. I
Pictures are
cried.
allowed.
I
They want
cried.
to know if she would take pictures with them. So I think that, again, putting that person who I think is really cool and great meet in front of other people is sort of what I like to do. So that's on my bucket list.
She
So
held
get
my
those-
children. It's so weird.
Oh my gosh. She felt that
It
was-
seemed like every time I saw her, she had Ferris with her.
I can't wait. First is going, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
you guys
both are.
I can't
I can't wait
for
for her
Oh,
to
that
see her
should be
begin.
fun.
They
Yes,
actually
again.
will get to go to the concert this time. They're old enough. They like music. Last time I was afraid they would be like screaming.
No, let them dance. And have
Didn't she hold him the entire time we were on Castaway
He
Cay?
really took to her husband more than her.
Yes.
Oh, I think I saw her a lot.
What's cool about being a Disney fan is we do kind of have our own list of celebrities, that we have put in that status. And I think in many ways they are a little more accessible than like your Brad Pitts or Angelina Jolie's or something like that. Sometimes there are opportunities to actually meet these folks, and it's
Absolutely
really
true.
cool, especially if you head out to Disneyland. They all seem to be out in California. Kevin, did you have anything in particular just for you that
There are things at the park that I still haven't done. We talked. I've never been to Tom Sawyer Island. I don't foresee that changing.
Yeah, but that's not a bucket list. Like
No,
you
it's not
can't
a-
wait to do it.
No,
It can be
You could have done that by now.
it can be a blend of things I haven't done and things that I haven't done and want to do.
you were talking about the impossible. I would have loved to have met Mary Blair. Someone else mentioned that.
Yeah.
Things that just aren't possible anymore.
Yeah.
But you can buy all the books, you can read all the stuff, you can go to the exhibits, so that kind of thing. I think the biggest one for me would be to visit all of the parks. I think that's probably the top of my list.
Honestly, I was surprised that wasn't higher on Kathy's
Yeah, I also
countdown.
know. And I'll say this though, is that I think for you and I, it's attainable.
Well,
It's not something that's so far out of the realm that we'd never do it.
in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of the world that I thought was important for me to see, and Asia has always been kind of intimidating. I mean, I don't speak French or Italian, but they're Romance languages, and once you kind of know the root of it,
Yeah.
you sort of don't.
You can sort of decipher
Right.
what's written on the
Right.
building.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Unless
However-
you're in Greece.
Or
They have a different
Asia.
alphabet.
And I think that intimidates me a little bit, the fact that I would be completely without
Yeah.
communication,
Yeah.
So I think someday we've actually started talking. We've actually talked to ABD about this. I don't want anybody to read anything into this because I promise you they've told me it's just too expensive to do this. But I would love to take a group of our listeners and friends and whoever wanted to go to one of the parks in Asia.
Yeah.
I think that just seems. When I was younger, Disneyland seemed like the big unattainable
Yeah.
thing because it was all the way on the other side of the country. Well, things have changed since I was a kid, and now that's attainable, and we've been to Alani. So I think the new unattainable thing to me seems to be Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to speak for you, Corey. I hope that's okay. I'm pretty sure that high on his list would be Disneyland Tokyo and also Disney Sea, which both of us, we've always wanted to go to Japan anyway. So but Disneyland Paris would be on the top of my list. So,
It's amazing.
like I've always wanted to go to France. He doesn't have any desire to really go there, and it drives me insane. And also Germany, but that's another
He doesn't
story.
know he wants to go until he goes.
Yeah.
He'll fall in love with the art. He'll fall in love with the
Some
architecture.
of the people on the chat are saying things like, "I would like to have my entire family at Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
I'd like to wake
Yeah.
up on Christmas morning in a deluxe hotel and go into the park." So, I mean, these are things that
I have that dream,
resources.
except my dream is for the whole family to be like in the mountains in a cabin. Like I love Walt
Like
Disney
Space
World.
Mountain.
In a log
But
cabin in
like
Space
one of
Mountain.
those giant log cabins where everyone could stay in one place. With all my siblings and grandchildren and stuff. I think that could be a lot
That's
of
cool.
fun.
Well, speaking of that, only resources is your only obstacle there. The number 3 on Kathy's list from her Facebook friends is eat at Victoria and Albert's restaurant at the Grand Floridian. I think. What do you think that is? Is that more of it's too expensive, or is it hard to get a reservation, or is it just something that people just typically don't do?
I think it's an expensive option.
I think it's both, yeah.
I think what happens is you can do so many other things for the cost of that.
Yeah.
I don't know how hard it is to get. People seem to get it all the time. Yeah.
As long as you're not
I've
really.
been asked several times why
We tried
haven't
for our
been.
anniversary, but I think we were just too close.
To be
We would have had to
too
have eaten at like
picky.
4:00.
Yeah.
It's one of the very few restaurants I have not been to at Disney, and one of the other main ones is the one that's at Old Key West. What's it called again?
Olivia's?
Olivia's. I haven't been there because I
And that's
haven't.
much easier to get into.
You can kind of park in front.
But that's
You can go in shorts and a
You
t-shirt.
don't need a jacket and a tie.
that segues into one of mine, which is going to Old Key West. Now, I've mentioned this on the show before. I'm purposefully not doing that.
Why?
Because I always want to have something that I haven't done here. And I don't know why I've chosen Old Key West. I think it just happened in that
So
way.
you'll never do it.
I may one day.
You will, because I never said I would do space or Mission Space.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
you don't
I
have an
never will again.
aversion to
I
it.
don't have an aversion to it until necessity requires that I go to Old Key West. I want to keep it that way just
One
because
of my favorite resorts.
Because what?
it's something that's unknown. I've done a lot of stuff at Disney World, and it's nice to have something that's
Teresa,
completely
you sure you want to
unexplored.
crack this egg?
No.
Because you are trying, and I think it's.
I'm just. Okay, that's sweet. Okay.
That was the equivalent of bless
Easy
your
at
heart.
all.
Bless your heart.
Oh,
Bless
man.
his heart.
Well, how about you, Craig? Is there anything that you haven't done or you'd like to do?
Yeah, I will go and get my 3 out of the way. Number 3.
Rapid fire. List them off.
I'd like to go to San Francisco to see the Walt Disney Family Museum,
Yeah.
as well
Cool.
as also visit Lassiter Winery. Get
Ooh,
that
I'll go.
connection. Number 2, I'd like to be able to spend an entire day at Pixar and just walk around, meet anyone, talk to them, see what they do, because they're the most creative people in the world. And then number 1, as it's been mentioned before, whenever Kylie and I have kids one day, I want to take them to Disneyland first. If we're still in Florida, even if we have them, I don't want to take them here first. I would rather take them to Disneyland first, just because seeing the character interaction out there, you can't do the same thing here. The characters will just stop and take a picture with you after you wait hours and hours in line, whereas out there they might be running around going insane in town square and just creating such a better experience. And
There's more magic in Disneyland for me. I don't know if that's how you, like, that's what
Oh,
you're kind of
absolutely.
explaining.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I love Walt Disney World. No, I would say I like Walt Disney World. I love Disneyland.
That's the way I feel too.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's a vacation and it's
Yeah.
a destination. Whereas
Whereas
here,
this
it's
isn't for
like,
us.
I don't want to say it's work.
Disneyland
it's
has
just
become
different here.
my new Disney World. I
Yeah.
used to crave coming down here to Disney World, and now it's the same way for Disneyland.
I was in Disneyland before I ever came here. I went there as a young adult and fell in love with it before I even knew that. I knew this existed, but before I even knew there were people that were so wrapping their lives around Disney.
And I bet you some people do the same thing with Disneyland that I do with Old Key West. That they
Honey, nobody else does that. You can't. Don't bring that back, sweetie. Nobody else does it with you.
give me a shout out if you do.
Interesting fact, Kevin and I spent more days in Disneyland last year than Disney World.
Yeah,
It's true.
So I don't know what that says, but I thought it was an interesting.
I like
really
both.
like it.
I like both. I love Disneyland. I truly do. However,
My heart is in World.
I grew up.
Yeah.
My first park was Walt Disney World. To me, that's home. It's
Yeah.
just it's where my heart belongs. I might get annoyed with it, and I might not go as often as I used to. And I love Disneyland.
Yeah.
It's just this is it.
I don't know about Pixar, Craig, but Family Museum is definitely doable, right?
oh,
You
absolutely.
out there enough that maybe just extend a trip.
I'd
To
love
the
to see
people who
that.
want to eat at Club 33, go on a backstage magic trip with us.
Are they saying that's a
usually-
bucket list?
That's a
Yeah.
bucket list.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the winery. Is that open to the public?
Oh yeah, they do special tastings there. I know the Bowlings go there quite often, and as well as the Walt Disney Family Museum. So one day I just need to take a trip out to Disneyland
Maybe
and
have a
extend
spare
it
minute.
by a week and
Do you know
go
what?
up and spend time.
One of the things I would like to do. I've been to the Disney Family Museum. I would like to have unfettered time there. I would like not to have a schedule. I would like to go in the morning and just kind of decide when I was done, as opposed to having something else to do.
It's so big though; it really takes days.
There's enough time.
Yeah.
There's enough there to just spend days. Actually, I think.
Wow. That's so cool. I would love to do that.
And you know how the story ends, and you still cry at the end because you've gone through this whole process. And I mean, there's nobody who doesn't know that how it ends. But you stand in that room where it ends, and it's like all of a sudden it hits you all over again.
So it's like Walt Disney's one-man dream, but like times 1,000.
It's even more than that.
Yeah.
It's not just park related. It's his life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Personal.
very
yeah,
personal. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very personal. And you also realize that you haven't been doing this right because you certainly haven't been saving the same things the Disney family has been saving since time began.
Well,
Yeah.
that's like the hometown museum in Marceline that I went to this summer. There were personal items in there, personal letters that Walt had sent to his sister, and
God, I would throw
museum
that
is-
stuff away.
it
The
was-
museum is full. That's full. And what I understand is that the Presidio, right, is where the museum is. There are buildings full of stuff that they have not put out that they're going to
it
rotate
pays
through.
to be a hoarder.
It does. Walt Disney was a hoarder, but
We were walking through the Disney Family Museum, and there's this little frame, and it's the buttons of Walt Disney's grandmother's wedding dress. And I thought, well, I might have those in a drawer somewhere. I don't know what they are, though.
I think the dog ate one.
They're just like things that you would never think of saving that they've actually saved.
Right, and letters and checks and contracts and all that stuff that we don't even have paper anymore.
Right.
You know?
Speak for
Well, I can
yourself.
say I have letters.
I got
I have
letters.
letters written from my great grandmother who passed away a very long time ago, but I have kept those.
I have letters and boxes of stuff.
My whole life is chronicled on a magnet on a fridge.
Just for the chat, folks, Dave Smith has retired. He's not working any longer.
Well, moving right along, we have number 2 on her list is, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, take the backstage tours at Walt Disney World. Now, we talked about opportunities that you might have a chance to stay at Haunted Mansion or stuff like that. But, there's just numerous tours at Walt Disney World and Disneyland, too, that... well, not so much Disneyland, that show off backstage
Disneyland
areas.
has a walk-in... Well, it's not really backstage, but it's...
They have special tours that you can take.
It's called the Backstage Magic Tour here, but it's a one-day tour. And they do take you backstage at certain things. You get to spend some time backstage at the American Adventure, which is absolutely fascinating.
I think this is especially cool for Disney fans that have done the theme parks year after year, that they hit all the attractions, and you're looking for that something different to do. And I know this is obviously high on a lot of people's lists. It's number 2 on Kathy's Facebook list. I don't think that's the first thing that people think of when they go to Walt Disney World. It's like, I'm going to book a backstage tour.
It's a commitment. It's an 8-hour tour. However, when I first did it, I thought it was going to be exhausting. Most of what you do is you travel by bus from place to place. I mean, there is some walking involved, but I got to see things that I still think are fascinating.
This is another one of those things where if your time at Disney World is sliced up by the minute, it's hard to commit a whole day to one of these tours. It's definitely worth it, though.
But they also have smaller, less consuming tours.
There is Keys to the Kingdom, and the chat folks are asking, yes, that's still available.
Yep. But there's also like the more specific tours, like the ones at the Living Seas, where you can see the animals there, or at Animal Kingdom, stuff like that.
Behind the Seeds.
Yeah, Behind the Seeds at Living with the Land.
We did
really
that.
Cool.
It was. And what was funny was we were standing there listening to the tour guide talk about
pumpkins or something.
And as the boats went by, they would go, "Oh, look, there's John and Kevin from the podcast."
You talked about a behind the scenes at Disneyland. Not Hawking Adventures by Disney this whole time, but there's the Backstage Magic trip, which is heavily concentrated on backstage stuff there, and that's a cool trip to do too.
Now, Teresa, what's on your list that hasn't been mentioned so far?
I would say some of the lesser talked about ABD trips.
Yeah.
The North American ones fascinate me because it's exploring our country.
Yeah.
I mean, though I would love to travel the world and see other places, I think like Nashville and Wyoming and all the I feel they might be more attainable for me because they're a little bit lower in price. So I don't know.
A little bit less money and effort and time to get there.
Yeah.
Bless you. You're not.
But I don't know. I think it intrigues me. Some of the lesser,
Wyoming, not so much, but Nashville, never
Nashville
been there.
really. I've been to Nashville, and
Isn't there one that you visit the Grand Canyon? I've never been there.
There's Arizona and Utah.
Arizona one, yeah.
Adventures by Disney is also just another way to get a different style of Disney vacation. If you're doing this year after year at the theme parks and you want to change it up a little bit, you can do Adventures by Disney. You still get that Disney feel with some of the surprises and magic that they make for you, but you're seeing some incredible things.
I just want you to know that this is a big question that comes into me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, is Mickey Mouse going to guide us through? I just need to clarify a little bit that Adventures by Disney has the Disney quality and the Disney touch. However, when you visit places, it's not through character eyes. It's very authentic. It's very you're in the culture. So yes, the Disney quality is there, the Disney attention to detail, that kind of thing. But it's not per se a Disney trip. This is a huge question I get.
Right.
I want to take my kids. Is this going to be all Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck? And it's not.
No.
So I just needed to clarify that.
On a more attainable level for me, the 3 restaurants at Walt Disney World that I have yet to eat at that are on my list: California Grill, Tusker House, and Be Our Guest. I've not been to any of those, and
all 3 of them are very good.
I know, and it's just something I know I can do it. I just haven't
go
done
to any of them. Right?
I know, but I just haven't just haven't had the time
the
or
time,
the
yeah.
Especially California Grill, now that it's been revamped. It's so beautiful up there. The meal is, at least when I went, was amazing.
Right.
And you just can't beat the view from up there.
I was just going to say the food's really good, but the real estate, spectacular.
There's also an idea too that you might be able to do this financially, but what's your choice? Sometimes you go to Walt Disney World and you want to eat at that same restaurant that you love. There's just only a certain amount of time you can devote to something.
Or I might, to me, California Grill seems like I'd want to do it with not just myself or with, I want to do it with maybe my husband or something.
Someone's rehearsal dinner's going to be there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Make it more of an
More
event.
of an event, yeah. So maybe, our anniversary's coming up. Maybe I can, get my, that ain't going to happen. Never mind.
Really? Then that's the other thing too. Would I rather nap? Or would I rather go do these things?
Right, seriously, I got a day off. And that sounds weird, but
It's true for us.
it's true. It's
to
true.
make that decision, what's
You got the
what's
day
more
off,
important.
I can drag my hubby over there. But
And I think that's why we all like Disneyland. Go back to what Dustin said. Because you're in Disneyland, you might be working on content, but it's not your, I have to go
You
do
don't have
this
to do
and
laundry, and you don't have to let the dog
make
out.
baskets
to
or
go to the
things like
post office. When we go to Disneyland, we stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
I'm not, we're not cooking meals kind of thing. I think that has a lot to do with it.
it's a vacation, even if it is work or whatever. It's still
It is a true vacation.
it's a vacation.
I don't think we're going to get any sympathy from anybody that we have to work in Disneyland. But I think you're right. I think the fact that you are away from your environment and you can't do the things that you would normally. Oh, you know what?
You're right,
Instead
though,
of-
because when people come from out of town to visit, they're like, "Oh, meet us at the parks." I'm like, "You do know that I actually have a life
Right,
here.
exactly.
My kids go to school. We
Yeah.
have jobs."
But I hate saying that, and I'm reluctant to say that to people because it just sounds weird. I don't want them to think.
But I can't just drop everything.
No,
and,
okay.
you know,
You just can't.
yeah.
It is
Our
hard.
fri- Our friends understand, though. They've gotten to the point where they understand that, listen, you just can't meet you in the park on 2 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Right.
Right.
We'll do dinner
Right.
or something like that.
But that again is why I like cruise line also because you're disconnected from absolutely everything.
Even if you don't want to be halfway through.
I know,
On this
even
boat.
if you're disconnected.
I think that's why it's my favorite vacation, especially
Is
with
it
Corey,
cruise?
because he's never not plugged in,
Yeah.
ever. And so it's so hard, and when we do that, it's so easy for him to disconnect and be able to
And you
shut
can't
off.
say, John, I didn't get your email. Because maybe you didn't. Right?
I love cruising because he does the same thing. There's times when you just have to put the cell phone and the computer away because there's just nothing
It's
you
hard.
can do. It is hard, but
It's
when
difficult.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's good to see them shut down for a little bit.
Because it's good for them,
Right.
health-wise, everything.
I just want to move on quickly to Kathy's number one pick, which was a surprise to her, and it's kind of a surprise to me, is staying at a Walt Disney World Deluxe Resort Hotel. I think this goes back to the Victoria and Albert's thing. It's financial, probably. A lot of people probably stay in the moderates, and the
It's
values
also,
are off
again,
property.
it's all about choice. Do I have a week at All Stars or do I have 3 days at a deluxe resort?
I have another question. Really quick, just off the top of your head, and I know you were a cast member. If you could do any cast member job in any of the parks, what would it be?
Oh, I know
This
why.
was from King Llama on the chat.
I will only be happy if I run the whole thing.
Well, before we go
probably
around
the closest.
and answer that, that was
wanna be
actually
Bob Iger.
that was actually an honorable mention in her blog. Was that people, their bucket list would be to become a cast member. So I think that's a good question to ask. I know for me, I would always want to be working at the attractions. I have to work.
What
at
would
the
you do,
attractions.
I
Julie?
want a bibbity-bobbity.
Do you?
You like
You
your
want to
job?
work
Yeah.
at Bibbidi Bobbidi?
You want to make people
Yeah, I
over?
think it'd be so fun to do little girls' hair and makeup.
That is cute.
What would you pick?
I want to be fairy godmother.
Greg, what would you pick?
I would be a jungle cruise skipper.
Would you?
Oh, you'd be so
I
good
would
at
like to
that.
be the person who walks around and says, this needs to be painted. I'm serious. I would like to be a
control.
quality control person. I
I like that.
Well, if I
I-
could invent a job, I'd be the smoke police, and every person who is smoking in a non-designated smoking area, I would go and cut their cigarette in half with
Oh,
a
I thought
pair
you
of
meant you'd be
scissors.
made of smoke.
No,
And arrest people.
I want to
Like
be the
in
smoke
Lost.
police.
I'll tell you what, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but as a cast member, there's nothing more satisfying than putting them in the right direction.
Cutting
But I don't see
cigarette?
many
You
cast
do
members
that?
doing that. I do not see many cast members telling people, you shouldn't be smoking here, please move to the designated smoking area.
They should
And that
be.
annoys me.
They
So
should
that's
be.
why I want smoke police.
That's interesting. Now, anything is the Kathy right? say what her bucket list was, or is this just from the?
Or is she just making stuff up?
It's I'd have to go through here and kind of read the
You have
subtext.
to read it. Go ahead.
Oh wait,
But I think she just mentioned the hoop-de-doo was on her list, and then kind of asked everybody else, and then she said if she agreed or didn't agree along the lines of what everybody said. But Julie, anything that you haven't mentioned so far?
I covered all my bases.
Covered
I
all
think
this?
you'd really be great in Bibbidi Bobbidi
I do.
Boutique.
I think it would be so fun. I would love
And I
it.
think you'd make a great fairy godmother.
Now what does that mean exactly?
I want to ride on that float. That outfit. I want that outfit.
Waving that magical
I
wand.
do.
It covers a multitude of sins.
I
doesn't
know.
it?
I just.
It's a big
I think I would fit in that.
I could bungee you to the top of our armada.
Oh my God!
Can make it happen.
There's
Wrap you up in a big blue sheet and give you one.
that's a sight. Just for me, I've kind of mentioned some of the things I wanted to do, but two of the things that I've never done at Disney, other than Old Key West, are I've never done Disney Quest. And
You're not missing anything.
Not missing much. And I have never done Impressions de France. Yeah, never done that.
Okay, you need to go. and do
Love
it.
the music from
Welcome
Impressions
to
de
France.
Exactly. Just go in and sit down.
I could
Yeah.
watch it over and over and over.
I actually have that music on my iPod. It's my favorite music from
Well, I hadn't
Disney.
I hadn't done O Canada or Reflections of
Core
China
Adventures by Disney.
until this past year. So
What'd you
that's
think
the
of
next
O
one.
Canada?
I love
like
O
that
Canada.
one.
Martin Short's great.
I love that, but I don't like that you have to stand up.
Yeah, I don't like it to
Exactly.
say
You
that.
know?
Well, you had to
Go
lean
in
on that
Impressions
pole.
de France. It's really good.
it's
Then
good.
go in and get a croissant.
If you don't know what these are the films that are at the different countries at the World Showcase in Epcot.
So, did you set out to not go to Old Key West, or that just was the last one standing?
Circling back to this, aren't we?
We're going into a therapy
She's gonna
session here.
pick that
So
scab, isn't she?
I basically it's become something that I've never had any necessity to go there, so I haven't done that. But now that I'm at the point where that's the only hotel that I've never been to, now there's a conscious decision to say, you know what, I'm gonna
Oh, I'm gonna be special.
I'm
and
gonna be
different.
I'm gonna be cool.
Do this.
Yeah. So that's kind of.
kidnap him and take
Are you
That's-
going to take his lunch money next?
I know.
Oh my gosh. So
him out in the parking lot?
Look, you're here.
all right, guys. All right.
Wait. Do them again.
No, come on.
Do-
What?
Please do a voice of me.
Did I just do it?
You did. I'm not coming.
There's actually something at Old Key West I think you would enjoy very much. There's a bar there. And I don't mean that.
Right.
I don't mean that in the sense that you'd only enjoy drinking, but it's an intimate little bar that people seem to
There's like
like.
3 seats. And it's called like the empty suitcase or something.
Oh, really?
Like that. The
Gurgling
Gurgling
suitcase.
The gurgling suitcase.
Okay, empty
You would
suitcase,
love it.
lonely suitcase. I knew
That's
it had
kinda cool.
suitcase in the day. Dustin, there are 3 seats there.
Yeah, it's very small.
I'll take off all 3.
But it's also the type of place where people get to know each other. and
Breakfast at
talk.
Olivia's is good though. I do
like
like the
Olivia's
breakfast
very
there,
much.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to get away from this conversation and kind of wrap things up with a little bit of a twist.
Oh, Lord.
If we had a time machine
Oh, I like this. Okay,
to
I'm
go
already
back
on
in
board.
time, we can go around the table and everybody can give 1 or 2 things. If you had a time machine to experience something, meet somebody in the past, what would be on your bucket list for that, John?
I think 2 things. First of all, I would love to have met Walt Disney on one of his trips through the park. How cool would that have been? However, I'd want to meet him knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted to meet
Well,
him.
it'll be your time machine back,
Right.
right?
So you know what you know now. And the second thing is, Kevin describes going to Walt Disney World in 1971. I would love to have been there for that.
Yeah, to experience
Just sort
that
of
feeling.
that sort of
And run
emptiness
into young Kevin?
Anything you can know.
You could be the picture
Because he
in
would
the
have
background. You
beat, he
could
would
be
have
the
beat me
background
up.
with a cell phone. or
No, he would have. If we met when we were younger, he would have beat me up. So I don't want to do that.
I still might.
But but being there when it was so new and so fresh and so different than anything else, and just sort of wide open spaces and anything was possible. I would like to do those 2 things.
Cool. How about you, Kevin?
I think I can't imagine anybody not saying they would like to meet Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Again, but knowing what you know now, just to sit and sort of, the old expression, pick his brain. I would
Yeah.
love to hear the thought process here. I would go back to early Walt Disney World with my family, an old white Tomorrowland. And please, what I mean
Yeah.
is that, do you remember when Tomorrowland was all that whitewashed modern architecture?
Like tomorrow.
It was the retro
Yeah.
60s version of the
Right.
future.
And outside of what is now the Last Factory, they had those, and Stitch, they had those giant fountains that went up in the air. I would go back to the early 70s with my family. at Walt Disney World.
I'd love to see Epcot on opening day. I've never
I
experienced
wasn't there
that.
on opening day,
Yeah.
but I was there very early. I mean, I took the train, or the monorail through the construction site and stuff.
Oh, cool.
So, but yeah, and as I said earlier, I would love to talk to Mary Blair. I find her talent awe-inspiring.
Yeah. How about you, Craig?
Come back.
Okay. How about you, Teresa?
All right, I would want to go back to the early '60s, just for the fashion
Yeah.
and the way we all dressed, and
Yeah.
that's what I want to be in the parks.
So
for that.
you would like to be able to dress like you dress today, but be in the past
Oh
and it
no
be
no
okay?
no
She wants to be that girl.
I want to be that girl
Ah.
walking around the park in that skirt.
A-line dress with the flip.
Yes,
Nice.
yeah, that's and my pill ball. Yeah, that's what I want, and I want. I could run into Walt. I don't care. I mean, it would be fun. People
Just
walking
high-five
around
him.
smoking. I mean, I just.
Blowing it right in your face.
Yeah,
She having a Mad Men moment.
that's
Trust
that's
me,
kind of what I would like. Yeah. Also, I think I would like to meet Walt as a child, and see what not like a young child, but just kind of. Be a fly on the wall and see what's going on in his world. If he's a doodler or like Stella, or if he's,
Yeah.
kind of see if there's hope for my child or not. That's kind of what
You saw Saving Mr. Banks, right?
Oh yeah,
The scene where he talks about his childhood.
Yeah.
Sounds like it might not have been.
I know.
Roses and
That's what I
Sunshine.
kind of want to see. Is he really, sleeping in a snowbank somewhere, or trying to deliver the papers, or I kind of want
That was a
to.
sad scene,
It was a very
but it
sad
was
scene.
inspiring.
It was devastating.
Yeah.
It was. It was like, you had been going along, and that sort of put a break on things.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like a dose of reality.
How about you, Julie?
Does it have to do with Disney?
Well, preferably.
Oh well.
Well, you didn't specify that in the beginning,
We're
so
gonna go that far out.
no. But mine would be way back. I would want to go back to when the fairy tales were being written. Like,
Oh, that's
I
really
love
cool.
reading any books set back in, like 15, 16 to the 1700s. And to be there when Grimm was writing those, the brothers Grimm were writing their fairy tales, I think that'd be really cool. And then I'd like to be at Disneyland on opening day.
Yeah.
Because all the stories that I read about that day, like the cement sometimes was still wet, and so the ladies' heels would get stuck in the cement.
Yeah.
And so you had like the impressions left over. And also, Steve Martin worked as he sold the little papers they gave out.
So you would go up to him and say, "Don't worry, buddy."
No,
it's gonna
I
be
would want to
okay."
see him as that little boy selling those papers. I read his one of his biographies, Born Standing Up, and he talks about that time of his life, and he was also the magician in the magic store. So I think it'd be really cool to see him starting out, because I really like Steve Martin.
How many stars?
And would you
started
tell
at
the
Disney?
people that you're from the future when you go
Couldn't. That
back?
would be the rule. You
One of our
can't.
chat folks, Michelle, says she would like to go to one of the date nights in the 1950s at Disneyland.
What is that?
They every once in a while they would have a special night, and it would be date night, and you would bring your boyfriend or your girlfriend.
I thought it was like meet people. I thought it was like
No,
mingles.
Speed dating.
At Disney.
no.
Harmony.com.
How about you, Craig?
I don't have one.
He has no regrets. He doesn't want to go back.
regrets.
I know.
It's
I'm just kidding.
I mean,
He
there's
lives in the now.
Yeah, I would obviously love to go back and see Disneyland in the 60s or see Walt Disney himself, lots of stuff. But I mean, I'm just glad that I'm lucky enough to see what I've seen now.
Yeah.
Now somebody
with
has
it.
said something even more interesting. I think
Yeah.
they would like to be able to time travel and see what Disney's going to look like in the future.
Ah, cool.
That's interesting.
So I
I
think
find that depressing.
But we have to have rules about time travel.
Yes.
You can't mess up the timeline. Or
No.
it's Back to the Future all over
I
again.
know.
Butterfly effect.
Right, Biff and
Marty's mom.
right.
Well,
Calvin
I watched
Klein.
Once Upon a Time. Yeah, you can't bring people back.
That's right.
For me, it would. I had
magic
mentioned.
comes with a price.
Yes.
I had mentioned Epcot opening day, but I'd also like to see like some attractions before they changed into what they are now. So like I'd love to be able to re-ride Journey into Imagination as the original, that kind of stuff. Be able to go ride Mr. Toad's Wild Ride or
I did.
I was just going
Horizons.
to say there's a
I
scale
did.
also.
The other thing I think along those lines is, Kevin mentioned going through Epcot as it was being built. It'd be cool to see the parks and see the attractions sort of in those stages of development.
Yeah.
One of the things when we talk about stuff like this, I feel lucky a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I feel very lucky that my parents thought that this was important to go there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
The fact that I look back and I think that's part of what I've had the problem with the Fast Pass thing is. To me, Disney World was a place you were allowed to run amok. You bounced from place to place, and it was just, and it wasn't it wasn't that I had a lot of money to spend. I mean, this was back in the days of tickets, so you were kind of judicious with your tickets. You know, I wrote if you had wings a lot because it didn't take a ticket.
Yeah.
But the freedom and the carefreeness of it all has changed. I think Disney is stressful now. I think it's a stressful vacation for people.
That also comes from your experience as a child versus your experience as an adult.
Right.
But you know what?
You know.
All of our experiences lead us up to our opinions. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So I feel very lucky to have experienced that, and it's a treasured memory. If I could time travel, I would take you all back to the point where you didn't have to think about it,
Okay.
where it wasn't, where you just went.
Cool.
Wow.
Well, I think that's the perfect note to end on here. That was I like that little twist at the end. That was fun. So I want to thank all of you guys for participating in our Disney bucket list, and I want to thank Kathy Whirling again for putting up this awesome blog. It's really cool. You should go check it out. We'll put a link in the show notes page, www.disunplugged.com. But until next time, that is going to do it for our show. We will see you next week. We hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye for now. Bye, everybody.